Welcome to Recharge with Richardson, 5 minutes of hope and inspiration every Monday and Thursday. And now, here is today's episode.
Hey, welcome back to Recharge with Richardson. I'm glad you're here. And we have another quick dive into some scripture for you today. So just really quickly, the title for today is How to Accidentally Love Your Neighbor. And you may think I'm going to dive into the Gospels right now, but I actually want to look at Leviticus. And I know what you're thinking. As soon as you hear anyone talk about diving into Leviticus, you may get some glazed eyes and you may perhaps not want to hear what Leviticus has to say. But I am convinced that Leviticus is something worth listening to because out of all of the books of the Bible, Leviticus has the most direct speech from God. So some of it may be a little hard to get through, but I promise it's worth it. And today I want to look at Leviticus chapter 19. So the context of this chapter, I want to focus, by the way, on verse 18. But before we get to that verse, I just want to quickly paint the picture of what's going on here. These are a list, well, not really a list, but a conversation of moral and ceremonial laws. And, these laws can go seemingly all over the place. There are some things talking about reaping. There are some things talking about offerings, of course. And there are some things talking about relationships with people around you. And I want to read this footnote that I have in my study Bible. I would try to paraphrase it, but it's so beautifully stated, I just feel like I have to quote it. It says this: the point of this mixture, talking about the mixture of, talking about crops, talking about sacrifices, and talking about relationships, it says this: the point of this mixture is that God's people are to be holy in every aspect of their lives. And you can look at 1 Peter 1, verse 15, which talks about being holy in all of your conduct. And this obviously would include more than just going to church on Sabbath. This would include more than just whenever you are doing a homeless ministry or purchasing groceries for someone who's in need. This would include your entire life. So continuing the quote, including areas that would ordinarily be viewed as secular. So let's read the verse that we are getting to here. This is verse 18 of chapter 19 in Leviticus. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. And this is found in Leviticus. So when Jesus quotes this later, he's actually quoting Leviticus. In the Gospels, it's quoting Leviticus. I just have to say that over and over because Leviticus gets slept on. It gets ignored, but it's actually wildly beautiful. And if you want to know more about Jesus, I recommend checking out more of this book. So something I heard in our young adult Sabbath school this last Sabbath really blew my mind. When the class was talking about loving people we know versus people we don't know. And someone brought up a really good point that it's easier to love somebody you don't know, such as a homeless person going up and giving them some things they need, than it is to love somebody you do know, such as somebody that lives above you. I don't know if you've lived in an apartment, but it seems like if you have a bottom floor apartment or just have an apartment above you, it seems that the person above you always loves to tap dance at 2 a.m. And it becomes very easy to come up with all of these reasons to dislike this person. But here Jesus is saying, love your neighbor as yourself. So when they were having this conversation in the Sabbath school class, it struck me in a way that I had never thought of before. Neighbor, the word neighbor, when Jesus intentionally chose that word, it has an intentional sphere of proximity. So when you love your neighbor, this isn't just somebody you know. This isn't just somebody you see down the street. This is somebody that you know the annoying, terrible stuff that they do as they live their life. God chose that word because when Jesus says to love our neighbor, he's telling us to look directly into those flaws, directly into those things that we know is wrong with the other person and choose to love them anyway. To me, this loving our neighbor is one simple tweak away from loving our enemies. By loving our neighbor, Jesus is teaching us that through him, we can love literally anyone. Because if you can love the person that wakes you up with tap dancing, then you can love anyone. This would naturally, anyone, would include the people you disagree with politically, people who don't have the same experience as you, therefore see the world differently than you, people that are even antagonistic towards God. And as a Christian, it hurts me when people are antagonistic towards God, because to me, he's my friend, he's somebody that I know. So whenever somebody's upset at him, I'm like, hey, don't badmouth my friends. So God calls us to love the people even that hurt him. It is these people that don't share our worldview that are actually easier to love than the people that do share our worldview. And we see them and we smell all of the nonsense in their character. And Jesus says, these people that you're close to, these people that you smell all of that nonsense, that's the person that you need to love. So my plea for you today is pretty simple. It's time for us to reclaim Christianity as a religion of love. Let's not be known for who we disagree with, what political policies we despise, and rather, let's be known for our Christ-like love. It starts with the person that's right across the street.
Thank you for joining us for Recharge with Richardson. Don't forget to join us for our next episode, and until then, may God fill you with joy and peace and hope.